Good morning. You're very welcome back. Now, our next guest has been speaking openly about one of the most personal and challenging journeys of her life, balancing public office with IVF, solo pregnancy, and the realities of fertility treatment.
Welcome, MEP Maria Walsh. Good morning. How are you?
Morning to you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Massive congratulations.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm feeling good. I mean, insomnia is a serious thing.
Yes.
But then outside of that, I've entered into trimester 2, so touch wood, everything is feeling good, and baby's a good size. And I just met my midwife on Friday with my mother, so that was a sense of relief. So everything's cooking the way it needs to be.
Brilliant.
Just got very good.
Yeah.
Doing that with your mother must be special, because obviously doing this on your own as well is, and you've been speaking so well about this.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest with you, I'm trying to earn some brownie points back, because I did this privately for a long time. So my family only found out I was even doing fertility when I shared that I was pregnant in early April. So I don't know about your mothers, but my mother has kept that little black notebook to tell me, to remind me. But it's very exciting. And then my parents have grandbabies in California and Australia, so having a grandbaby close to home is really, really exciting. But the journey itself was really challenging, and in hindsight, you think there were so many moments where I probably should have brought close family and friends in, but then there is that sense of fear and control, because your body is uncontrollable when you're going through fertility. So in a long-winded way, I'm slowly earning those brownie points back.
But it's that fear, because it's the unknown, and you don't know what the outcome is going to be. When you were doing IVF yourself, I think a lot of us would know friends of ours who were going through it, and the injections and managing all of that, it's a huge part of life.
It is.
So how you were doing all the injections yourself. How long were you doing that for?
I started over a year. Realistically, by the time I started and finished, and I had the egg retrieval last July, which is wild to think we're now in May, so nearly a year on. And I had some issues with, and many parents or solo parents or couples would understand this who had gone through fertility. My plan was in my head, okay, 2 weeks later, we could have the transfer. And unfortunately, with delays, I had too much estrogen, and then I had issues with my lining, and it just kept knocking on and delays. So at the end of January of this year, then I had the egg transfer, and then you go through waiting 9 days, having the pregnancy test. And I had a slight scare at the end of February where I thought I had miscarried. And the great team at Fertility and Fetal Health in Galway, and then they work with Reapermed in Galway, just reassured, and we checked everything and it was on. But it's wild to say, through the journey of fertility, in hindsight now, I know so many family and friends had gone through fertility, but I wasn't aware of it. And I guess when I wasn't talking about it, then nobody else is going to talk about it with you. And it's remarkable just how many shared stories we have of that.
Going through that is incredible, but going through it on your own, like you said, in hindsight, if you were talking to people who might be thinking about doing the same thing, would you say to them to let other people know, to maybe bring a family member or have somebody maybe to have that little bit of support? Because I would imagine it is
absolutely. And there was points where I'd come out of the clinic and go, and you're like, that didn't go the way I'd planned. And when you're in any busy job, particularly mine, when you're thinking, right, well, in this date, if I happen and this happened, and that kept getting squashed and changed and moved, and there is real disappointment, and that kept building. So absolutely, and just to tell people, like, there's about 6,000 IVF cycles in Ireland last year recorded. 1 in 4 from our research of couples will need fertility support. And when you think, and I myself as a policymaker, we only heard the words IVF in the Dáil about 10 times last year. In the European Parliament, we couldn't even find a record of it. And you think, then hang on a second, there's these hidden conversations happening. People like myself might be holding it to themselves or having smaller conversations, but we're just not having it at a national or European. And you think of so many couples or solo parents like myself who are doing this, and you're like, hang on, there has to be a bigger moment here where we're having that honest and very vulnerable but really timely conversation about it.
You were saying earlier on that obviously, you know, you're very close to your family and you're very close to your team in the European Parliament. And when they found out you were pregnant, you were like, did you not have a clue, lads? You were like, I used to bleach my hair. Like, come on.
I mean, whatever about that. I mean, my body is about 75% coffee for the longest period of time. And then I stopped drinking coffee just because I had a real distaste to it. And they're like, yeah, when you think about it, actually, in hindsight.
There were signs. There were signs that were there.
But actually, to that point, there was some serious stuff too, where, and we've talked about online before, I was fluctuating in weight, obviously, with the amount of hormones and injections I was taking.
God,
and I can tell you this, like the social media aspect of it was quite hard. And then my team were trying to protect me. I have family and friends that were outraged when they seen some commentary.
So you were getting commentary on your weight.
Yeah, on my weight.
You're going through IVF.
And then you're going, hang on a second, this is a moment in time. They're not real people, but realistically, not everybody who says mean things is a bot. It's not a fake account. So you have to take that conversation into the reality of today too, you know.
In terms of public office and solo parenting, obviously as an MEP you will be spending a lot of time over in Europe. And I think this is a really interesting time as well, and somebody for you to be able to show how you do this is amazing. But it is going to be a challenge. It is.
It's going to be a real challenge. I was thought you were going to offer to babysit there, Thomas, for a second. I was taking names.
Absolutely. Listen, I can't say I'm much good, but yeah, absolutely.
No, but it is. It's going to be a challenge. Now, we're really fortunate. We have a creche on site in Parliament, but I'm working to try and keep to the fact that I do a couple of days in Brussels each week and a couple of days across the constituency. From a maternity leave standpoint, I hope to, baby's due mid-October. I hope to take November, start working remotely back in December, and then fingers crossed be back in full Parliament in January.
Pressure or just wanting to? Is that
wanting to? And equally, when you look at any small business owner, which, you know, I have a small team, but or farmers even. I mean, your mat leave is so condensed, even if you get it. And we have a lot of big votes coming in early next year, so I want to make sure I'm back. And our maternity leave is quite nuanced. You can take a period of time. I think it's 3 months up to due date and then 4 months after, but you're marked in many cases as being absent. And you can't participate. We don't have remote voting or remote access, and that for me is really frustrating, because equally I represent a constituency of 15 counties, so you still need to do that job. Like many working parents, you still need to do that job.
You don't want to be like Nigel Farage, who showed up for like 4 days when he was there. Can you nominate someone to vote for you?
Not yet.
Okay.
We have.
So pairing like we have in the Dáil, they don't have that going on in the European Parliament.
They don't. We just passed on proxy voting, but I have to say this is not just an Irish issue or an Irish MEP issue, I should say. It's a European issue. I mean, Spain is the only one, a member state right now, doing it very well. Many you get marked as sick.
As sick if you're not there. With all of this, right, you have obviously thought long and hard about this decision, which an awful lot of people are doing when they're in their 30s and getting to their 40s about whether to have a child. And you do an incredibly difficult job that is public facing. There was the European Movement Ireland's Island of Ireland EU poll came out recently, and you saw that 82% of us are in favour of being members of the EU, which is overwhelmingly positive, but there's a decline in satisfaction with the direction of the EU. And this has been happening since 2023. Obviously, cost of living crisis and immigration is the main concern. What do you say to that? Because it is like with that decline in satisfaction, it's something that you have to pay attention to.
We do, and we're one of those fortunate countries that do have such a high percentage in comparison to many, even on the Eastern Bloc of the EU, who faces war on a daily basis with the push and the aggression from Russia into Ukraine. I mean, ultimately, we have to get better, and I include myself in this, at communicating the positive aspects. The Irish government are about to take over the presidency for 6 months, so those honest brokers at an EU level. And we need to get things right, and we need to do things faster. For me, there's elements around migration. There's a lot of misinformation and fact. And we need to make sure citizens are not just finding their information only in small pockets online, but actually we're having those conversations in person, because we have seen a decline in this country on migration. But we also have to be prepared for what defence looks like, equality and health looks like. And there's certain things where what we look and deal with at an EU level is a part of our job, but then there's other things that is not, and that's a national competency, and how we educate people, but equally how we just share best practice. I mean, I could go on and on about that, but we have 6 months starting in July to really change those numbers, because we do not want to end up like a country on the Eastern Bloc that has worse percentage than that.
Yeah, with the EU presidency coming. Well, listen, huge congratulations.
Thanks.
You're looking great.
What lies, but I'll take it today.
You're looking great.
I should have had a bright colour.
Fabulous to have you in.
Best of luck the next
But thanks
3
for
months,
letting us have the
Amazing.
conversation. I think that's incredibly
Good
important.
on you.
Well done.
Thank you,
Solidarity.
Maria
Fair
Walsh,
play.
MEP.
Lovely to have you.